In the year 2147, Earth was a planet teetering on the edge of collapse. The skies were often gray with pollution, and the oceans had turned murky from centuries of neglect. Yet despite its struggles, humanity still clung to one shared dream: finding life beyond their troubled world. For decades, scientists had scanned the stars, hoping to hear something, anything, that might prove they weren't alone in the universe. At a small observatory nestled in the deserts of New Mexico, Dr. Laura Bennett spent most of her nights staring at the heavens through a massive telescope. She was a woman in her late 40s, with short brown hair streaked with gray and sharp green eyes that always seemed to be searching for answers. Her assistant, Ryan Carter, was much younger, a bright-eyed man in his mid-20s who believed every star held a mystery waiting to be solved. Together, they worked tirelessly, analyzing radio waves and light patterns from distant galaxies. One chilly evening, as the wind howled outside the observatory, Laura noticed something unusual on her computer screen. A faint signal, unlike anything she'd ever seen, was coming from deep space. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, but there was an eerie precision to it that made her skin crawl. "Ryan," she called out, her voice tense. "Come look at this." Ryan hurried over, his face lighting up with excitement. "Is it what I think it is?" he asked, leaning closer to the monitor. "I don't know," Laura admitted. "It's not random noise. This is structured, intentional." She adjusted the settings on the equipment, trying to isolate the signal. As they listened, static crackled through the speakers, followed by a low hum. Then suddenly, words emerged, not spoken, but somehow transmitted directly into their minds. The message was brief, yet chilling. "You have sealed your destiny." Laura froze, her hands gripping the edge of the desk. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Ryan nodded, his earlier excitement replaced by unease. "What does it mean? Who sent it?" Neither of them had answers, but they knew they couldn't ignore it. Over the next few hours, they recorded and analyzed the signal, piecing together fragments of information. The transmission originated from a region of space far beyond human reach, a place where no known spacecraft could travel. Stranger still, the message seemed to be directed specifically at Earth. It wasn't just a general broadcast. It felt personal, as if someone, or something, was watching them. As dawn approached, Laura sat back in her chair, rubbing her temples. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was this a warning, a threat, or simply a cosmic coincidence? Whatever it was, she knew it couldn't be ignored. Humanity needed to know about this discovery, even if it meant stirring up fear or disbelief. "We have to tell someone," Ryan said, breaking the silence. "This changes everything." Laura hesitated. She thought about the politicians, the skeptics, the endless debates that would follow. But deep down, she also knew Ryan was right. This wasn't just their discovery. It belonged to all of humanity. With a heavy sigh, she picked up her phone and began drafting an email to the United Nations Space Council. Little did she know, this single act would set off a chain of events that would alter the course of history forever. The signal lingered in her thoughts long after the sun rose, casting its pale light over the barren desert. Something about those 6 words haunted her, as if they carried a weight far greater than she could comprehend. In the year 2147, Earth was a planet teetering on the edge of collapse. The skies were often gray with pollution, and the oceans had turned murky from centuries of neglect. Yet, despite its struggles, humanity still clung to Laura, stood in front of a large conference room at the United Nations Space Council headquarters in Geneva. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the remote control for the projector. On the screen behind her was a graph showing the strange signal's waveform, along with a transcript of the haunting message. "You have sealed your destiny." The room was filled with diplomats, scientists, and military officials, all watching her intently, or so she hoped. Some seemed distracted, scrolling through their tablets or whispering to each other. "This is not just another anomaly," Laura began, her voice steady despite her nerves. The signal we detected is structured, intentional, and directed specifically at Earth. It carries a message, one that suggests we are being observed, judged even. A man in a dark suit leaned forward, his expression skeptical. It was Senator David Monroe, a powerful figure known for dismissing anything he couldn't immediately explain. "Dr. Bennett," he said, his tone dripping with condescension, "how do we know this isn't some natural phenomenon? Or worse, a prank by someone trying to cause panic?" Laura took a deep breath, reminding herself to stay calm. She had expected resistance, but hearing it firsthand still stung. "Senator, I understand your doubts. But consider this. The signal comes from a region of space far beyond our technology's reach. Its structure is too precise to be random. And the message itself," she paused, letting the words sink in, "it implies intent. Someone out there knows about us." Monroe raised an eyebrow. "Even if what you're saying is true, why should we act on it? We have enough problems here on Earth without chasing shadows in the stars." Ryan, sitting quietly in the corner of the room, clenched his fists under the table. He wanted to speak up, to tell them how wrong they were, but he knew better than to interrupt. Instead, he glanced at Laura, silently urging her to keep going. "We can't afford to ignore this," Laura replied firmly. "If there's even a small chance this message is a warning, we need to take it seriously. What if it's connected to the environmental disasters we've been facing? Or the strange phenomena reported around the globe recently?" Her argument fell on deaf ears. Most of the council members exchanged dismissive looks, while others openly scoffed. One woman muttered something about wasting taxpayer money on science fiction nonsense. Laura felt her hopes slipping away, but she refused to give up. Before leaving, she handed out copies of her report to anyone willing to take them, hoping someone, somewhere, would listen. Back in New Mexico, Laura and Ryan returned to the observatory, discouraged but determined to continue their work. They spent days poring over the data, searching for clues they might have missed. Ryan, however, struggled with frustration. "Why won't they believe us?" he asked one evening, pacing back and forth. "Don't they realize what's at stake?" Laura sighed, staring at the star-speckled sky outside the window. "People don't like change, Ryan, especially when it challenges everything they think they know. But that doesn't mean we stop trying." As the weeks passed, life on Earth grew increasingly chaotic. Power grids failed without explanation in several major cities. Unusual weather patterns wreaked havoc across continents. Hurricanes where none had formed before, sudden droughts in normally fertile regions. Even animals seemed restless, migrating in strange directions or behaving erratically. News outlets speculated endlessly about the causes, blaming everything from solar flares to secret government experiments. Then came the sightings. Reports poured in from all over the world of strange objects hovering in the sky. Glowing orbs, triangular shapes, and massive ships that defied logic. At first, many dismissed these accounts as hoaxes or mass hysteria. But when videos surfaced showing entire fleets of unidentified craft moving silently above major landmarks, skepticism turned to fear. One night, as Laura and Ryan worked late at the observatory, they'd witnessed it themselves. A blinding light descended from the heavens, illuminating the desert landscape like daylight. From the glowing orb emerged beings unlike anything they'd ever imagined. Their forms shimmered, as if made of both light and shadow, and their presence radiated an overwhelming sense of power. Without speaking, they communicated directly into Laura's and Ryan's minds. "Your time is over." The video Ryan recorded that night spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was uploaded to the internet, shared across social media platforms, and broadcast on every major news channel around the world. The footage showed the glowing orb descending from the sky, the shimmering figures emerging, and the chilling message transmitted directly into Laura's and Ryan's minds. "Your time is over." People watched in stunned silence, their faces pale with disbelief and fear. For the first time in history, humanity had undeniable proof of extraterrestrial life, and it wasn't friendly. Reactions varied wildly. Some people panicked, believing the end of the world was imminent. Riots broke out in cities as looters ransacked stores and streets filled with chaos. Others gathered in churches, mosques, and temples, praying for salvation or forgiveness. Conspiracy theorists claimed the aliens were part of a government experiment gone wrong, while religious groups saw them as divine messengers sent to punish humanity for its sins. Amidst the confusion, one thing was clear: Earth was no longer alone, and whatever these beings wanted, it spelled trouble. Senator David Monroe, who had dismissed Laura's warnings just weeks earlier, now found himself at the center of a global crisis. He called an emergency meeting of the United Nations Space Council, demanding answers. "This is your fault," he shouted at Laura during a heated exchange. "You should have kept this quiet instead of stirring up panic." Laura stood firm, her voice calm but unwavering. "I tried to warn you," she said, "but no one listened. Now we're facing something none of us fully understands, and we need to work together if we want to survive." Despite her plea, cooperation seemed impossible. Governments scrambled to respond, each acting in its own interest. Some countries launched missiles at the alien ships, only for the weapons to fizzle out harmlessly before reaching their targets. Others attempted to communicate, sending radio signals and even physical probes into space, hoping to establish contact. None of it worked. The aliens remained silent, watching from above as humanity spiraled into chaos. Back at the observatory, Laura and Ryan struggled to make sense of what they had witnessed. They spent long nights analyzing the video, searching for patterns or hidden meanings in the aliens' behavior. Ryan grew increasingly restless, blaming himself for not doing more to prevent the situation. "If we hadn't decoded that signal," he muttered one evening, staring blankly at his computer screen, "maybe they wouldn't have come." Laura placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's not your fault, Ryan. That signal has been traveling through space for years, maybe even centuries. It wasn't meant for us specifically. It was meant for anyone who could hear it. We just happened to be the ones listening." Her words offered little comfort. Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that they had triggered something far beyond their control. As days turned into weeks, the presence of the aliens became a constant reminder of humanity's vulnerability. Their ships hovered silently over cities, casting eerie shadows and emitting faint hums that made people uneasy. No one knew why they were here or what they planned to do next. Desperate for answers, Laura reached out to Dr. Benjamin Hayes, an old colleague who specialized in sinolinguistics, the study of alien languages. Benjamin had spent years researching hypothetical forms of communication used by extraterrestrial beings. If anyone could decipher the aliens' intentions, it was him. When Benjamin arrived at the observatory, he brought with him stacks of research papers and a laptop loaded with complex algorithms. After reviewing the footage and listening to Laura's account of the encounter, he frowned thoughtfully. "There's something familiar about this," he said, tapping a pen against his chin. "The way they communicated, telepathically, it reminds me of ancient myths describing encounters with gods or spirits. Maybe they're trying to tell us something, but we're missing the context." Laura leaned forward, her eyes wide with hope. "Can you figure out what?" Benjamin hesitated. "I'll try, but I can't promise anything. These beings are unlike anything we've ever studied. If they wanted us to understand them, they would have made it easier." As Benjamin got to work, Laura and Ryan continued monitoring the skies. Every night, they scanned the horizon, looking for signs of movement or changes in the aliens' behavior. They knew time was running out, though neither dared to say it aloud. The message from deep space still echoed in their minds. "You have sealed your destiny." Whatever it meant, they feared the worst was yet to come. Benjamin Hayes worked tirelessly, his eyes glued to the screen as lines of code and data scrolled past. The observatory had become a makeshift command center, with Laura and Ryan assisting him in any way they could. Despite their efforts, progress was slow. The aliens' message, telepathic and devoid of language or symbols humans could easily interpret, remained an enigma. Benjamin muttered to himself constantly, scribbling notes on scraps of paper and crossing them out just as quickly. "This isn't random," he said one evening, rubbing his temples. "There's structure here, but it's unlike anything we've ever encountered. It's like mathematics mixed with emotion." Laura frowned. "Emotion? How can you measure emotion?" "I don't know yet," Benjamin admitted, "but I think that's part of how they communicate. They're not just sending information, they're conveying intent. And whatever their intent is, it's tied to that countdown embedded in the signal." "Countdown?" Ryan asked, his voice sharp with alarm. "What countdown?" Benjamin hesitated before answering. He pulled up a graph on his laptop, showing a series of pulses from the original transmission. "See this pattern? It's repetitive, but it's also decreasing over time. If my calculations are correct, it's marking off intervals, days, maybe hours. This isn't just a warning. It's a deadline." The room fell silent. Laura felt her stomach twist into knots. A deadline meant there was no time to waste. Humanity wasn't just being washed. It was being given a final chance. A ticking clock counting down to something catastrophic. "We need to tell someone," Ryan said, pacing back and forth. "The council, the military, anyone who will listen." "And say what?" Laura snapped, her frustration boiling over. "That aliens gave us a cosmic timer and we have no idea what happens when it runs out. They didn't believe us before. Why would they start now?" Ryan stopped pacing, his face pale. "Because if we don't warn them, people deserve to know. Maybe someone out there can figure out what to do." Though reluctant, Laura agreed. She sent a detailed report to the United Nations Space Council, including Benjamin's findings about the countdown. Predictably, the response was mixed. Some officials dismissed it as fear-mongering, while others called for immediate action. Senator David Munro, however, took a different approach. In a televised address, he declared the alien presence a national security threat and ordered military forces to prepare for potential conflict. The decision only made things worse. Around the world, tensions escalated as nations armed themselves, pointing weapons at skies where alien ships lingered silently. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds demanding answers and accusing governments of hiding the truth. Meanwhile, the aliens remained passive, neither attacking nor retreating. Their ships continued to hover above Earth, casting long shadows that seemed to grow darker with each passing day. As chaos unfolded below, Laura, Ryan, and Benjamin focused on finding solutions. They pored over every scrap of data, searching for clues that might reveal the aliens' purpose. One night, while reviewing old star charts, Benjamin noticed something strange. The region of space where the signal originated was surrounded by clusters of dead stars. Planets reduced to barren wastelands. Each system showed signs of sudden collapse, as though life had been wiped out entirely. "What does it mean?" Ryan asked, staring at the images on the screen. "It means," Benjamin said grimly, "that these beings aren't explorers. They're enforcers. They go to planets, judge them, and decide whether they get to keep existing. And based on what we've seen." He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Laura sank into a chair, her mind racing. If the aliens saw humanity as a threat to Earth's survival, then their judgment might already be sealed. But she refused to give up. There had to be a way to prove that humanity could change, to show them that Earth was worth saving. "We need to talk to them," she said finally, face to face. Ryan stared at her as if she'd lost her mind. "Are you serious? You want to walk up to those things and ask for mercy?" "It's our only shot," Laura replied. "If we stay here, we're sitting ducks. We have to try." Benjamin nodded slowly. "She's right. Sitting around won't save us. But getting close enough to communicate won't be easy. We'll need help, and probably a miracle." The three of them began making plans, knowing full well the risks involved. Yet even as they prepared for their desperate mission, the countdown continued, inching closer to zero. Whatever fate awaited Earth, it was drawing nearer with each passing moment. The plan was dangerous, but Laura, Ryan, and Benjamin had no other choice. They decided to use a prototype spacecraft stored at a nearby research facility, a small shuttle designed for deep space exploration called the Eclipse. It wasn't built for combat or even long journeys, but it was their only hope of reaching the alien mothership orbiting Earth. The countdown was now down to mere days, and every second mattered. To pilot the mission, they recruited Maria Lopez, a skilled astronaut who had worked on several space station projects. Maria was in her early 30s, with dark curly hair and a quiet confidence that put others at ease. She didn't hesitate when Laura explained the situation. "If this is our last shot," Maria said firmly, "then I'm in." Preparations moved quickly. Supplies were loaded onto the Eclipse, including recording equipment, communication devices, and tools Benjamin hoped might help decode the aliens' language. Laura spent hours briefing the team, emphasizing the importance of staying calm and focused. "We don't know what we're walking into," she warned. "But whatever happens, we can't let fear take over." On the day of the launch, the atmosphere was tense. The observatory staff gathered outside to watch as the Eclipse prepared for liftoff. Some cheered, while others looked on with tears in their eyes, knowing the odds of success were slim. As the engines roared to life, Maria guided the shuttle skyward, leaving behind the chaos of Earth and heading toward the looming alien mothership. The journey was eerily quiet. Outside the windows, stars stretched endlessly against the blackness of space. The alien ship grew larger with each passing hour, its surface smooth and metallic, reflecting light like a mirror. It was massive, far bigger than anything humanity had ever constructed. As they approached, the team felt both awe and dread. "This thing looks alive," Ryan muttered, his voice trembling. "Like it's watching us." "Stay focused," Maria reminded him, gripping the controls tightly. She carefully maneuvered the Eclipse closer, searching for an entry point. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the mothership, surrounding the shuttle. For a moment, everyone froze, fearing the worst. But instead of destroying them, the light pulled the Eclipse inside, depositing it gently in a vast chamber. When the team stepped out of the shuttle, they were greeted by silence. The air shimmered faintly, and the walls seemed to pulse with energy. Then the aliens appeared, tall, translucent figures with glowing cores that pulsed rhythmically. Their presence was overwhelming, radiating power and authority. Benjamin stepped forward cautiously, holding up a device designed to translate their telepathic messages. "We've come to understand your intentions," he said aloud, his voice steady despite his nerves. One of the aliens tilted its head, studying him curiously. A wave of thoughts flooded their minds, not words exactly, but emotions and images. Laura gasped as she saw visions of Earth burning, oceans drying up, forests turning to ash. Interspersed were glimpses of humanity, wars, pollution, greed. The message was clear. The aliens viewed humans as a destructive force, unfit to continue existing. "We're sorry," Laura blurted out, tears streaming down her face. "We've made mistakes, but we can change. Please give us another chance." The aliens remained silent, their glowing forms unmoving. Then one of them projected a single thought into their minds. "Your laws allow no exceptions." Despair washed over the group. Humanity's fate had already been decided. There would be no negotiation, no second chances. As the realization sank in, Ryan clenched his fists, anger mixing with grief. "This isn't fair," he shouted. "You don't understand how hard we fought to survive." Before anyone could stop him, Ryan activated a device meant to disrupt the ship's systems, a desperate attempt to buy time. Alarms blared, and the chamber shook violently. The aliens turned their gaze toward him, their forms flickering with intensity. "Ryan, no," Laura cried, grabbing his arm. But it was too late. The distraction gave them just enough time to scramble back into the eclipse and escape. As the shuttle hurtled away from the mothership, Laura stared out the window, her heart heavy. They had failed to change the aliens' minds, but Ryan's impulsive act had bought humanity precious seconds. Seconds that might make all the difference. The eclipse raced back toward Earth, its engines straining under the pressure of their hasty retreat. Inside, the team sat in stunned silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Laura stared at the alien mothership shrinking in the distance, her mind replaying the events that had just unfolded. Ryan slumped in his seat, guilt etched across his face as he replayed his reckless decision over and over in his head. Benjamin clutched his translation device tightly, his knuckles white, while Maria focused on piloting the shuttle, her jaw set with determination. "We bought some time," Maria finally said, breaking the heavy quiet. "But not much. What now?" Laura took a deep breath, forcing herself to think clearly despite the weight of what they'd learned. The aliens' message had been unyielding. Humanity's fate was sealed. There would be no negotiations, no appeals. Yet, even in the face of such finality, Laura refused to give up hope entirely. "We use the time we have left wisely," she said firmly. "If we can't change their minds, then we need to leave something behind. Something that proves we tried." "What do you mean?" Ryan asked, his voice hollow. "A message," Laura replied. "Something for whoever comes after us, or whatever finds Earth when it's reborn. If this is truly the end, we owe it to ourselves, and to the future, to explain why it happened, to show that we were capable of growth, even if it came too late." Benjamin nodded slowly, understanding where she was going. "A record of our existence," he added. "Like the Voyager Golden Record, but more detailed. We include everything, the good, the bad, and the lessons we've learned." Ryan hesitated, still grappling with his emotions. "Do you really think it matters? After everything that's happened?" "It might not matter to them," Laura admitted, gesturing toward the fading image of the mothership. "But it matters to us. It's about taking responsibility for what we've done, for owning our mistakes, and maybe, just maybe, someone out there will find it someday and learn from our story." Inspired by Laura's resolve, the group threw themselves into creating the message. Using the equipment aboard the Eclipse, they compiled videos, recordings, and written accounts detailing humanity's history, achievements, and failures. They included messages of regret and hope, pleas for forgiveness, and promises of better intentions. Laura recorded a heartfelt speech, her voice trembling as she spoke directly to the unknown audience who might one day hear her words. "To whoever finds this," she began, "we are sorry. We failed our planet, and we failed ourselves. But we were also dreamers, creators, and fighters. We reached for the stars because we wanted to understand the universe and ourselves. Please remember us not only for what we destroyed, but for what we dreamed of building." As they worked, the countdown continued ticking away, relentless and unforgiving. Each passing hour reminded them how little time remained. When the eclipse re-entered Earth's atmosphere, streaking through the sky like a shooting star, the world below was already showing signs of collapse. Oceans churned violently, earthquakes shook continents, and strange storms ravaged cities. Humanity's final days were marked by both chaos and unity as people gathered together to say goodbye. Upon landing, the team transmitted their completed message into space, embedding it within Earth's last broadcast. It was a desperate act of defiance, a way to ensure that humanity's voice would endure, even if its people did not. As the transmission went live, Laura felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. She knew they had done all they could. But as the ground beneath them trembled and the skies darkened, Laura made a difficult decision. Turning to the others, she said, "You need to go. I'll stay here and delay the activation sequence as long as possible. Every second counts." Ryan protested, tears streaming down his face. "No, you can't." "I have to," Laura interrupted, her tone gentle but firm. "This is my choice. Trust me." Reluctantly, the others boarded the Eclipse for one last flight. As they ascended, they watched Laura standing alone near the observatory, her silhouette framed by the swirling clouds. Her final words echoed in their minds. "We are sorry." The journey back into space was somber. Maria piloted the Eclipse with steady hands, but her eyes were red from holding back tears. Ryan sat in silence, staring out the window at the shrinking image of Earth. Benjamin clutched a small recording device containing humanity's final message, his mind heavy with thoughts of what they had left behind. None of them spoke much. There was nothing left to say. They all knew Laura's sacrifice had bought them precious time, but it didn't ease the pain of losing her or the guilt of leaving her behind. As they traveled deeper into space, the team began noticing strange phenomena outside the shuttle. The stars seemed dimmer, their light fading like dying embers. Planets they passed were barren and lifeless, their surfaces cracked and scorched as if burned by some unimaginable force. It was clear these worlds had once harbored life. Rivers carved through dusty plains, and ruins of cities stood frozen in time. But now they were empty husks, reminders of civilizations long gone. "What happened here?" Ryan whispered, pressing his face against the glass to get a better look at one such planet. Its surface was covered in ash, with jagged mountains rising like broken teeth against the horizon. "It's the same pattern," Benjamin replied, his voice low. "These planets were judged and destroyed, just like Earth is being judged now." Maria tightened her grip on the controls, her expression grim. "Do you think this is common? Do these aliens go from planet to planet wiping out life?" Benjamin hesitated before answering. "I don't think they see themselves as destroyers. From what we've seen, they view themselves as enforcers, protectors of balance. If a species becomes too destructive, they step in to reset the system. But why no mercy?" Ryan asked bitterly. "Why not give us a chance to fix things?" "Maybe they tried that before," Benjamin suggested. "And maybe it didn't work. Maybe they've learned that second chances only delay the inevitable." Ryan looked away, unable to argue. He thought about Laura, alone on Earth, facing the end with courage none of them could match. Her final words echoed in his mind. "We are sorry." She had accepted humanity's fate, even as she fought to leave something meaningful behind. Ryan wished he could feel the same sense of peace, but all he felt was anger, at the aliens, at himself, and at the universe for being so cruel. Hours turned into days as the eclipse drifted further from Earth. The team monitored the countdown remotely, watching as the seconds ticked closer to zero. When the moment finally came, the shuttle shuddered violently, as if reacting to the catastrophic event happening millions of miles away. Outside the windows, a blinding flash lit up the darkness, a pulse of energy radiating outward from Earth's location. For a brief moment, the entire solar system seemed to hold its breath. Then, silence. Earth was gone. Ryan sank into his seat, burying his face in his hands. Maria closed her eyes, whispering a quiet prayer. Even Benjamin, who prided himself on his logical mind, found himself struggling to process the enormity of what had just happened. Humanity, their hopes, dreams, and flaws, had been erased in an instant. But amidst the grief, there was also a flicker of hope. The recording device in Benjamin's hand still held humanity's message. Somewhere out there, among the stars, it might find its way to someone, or something, who would listen. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep them going. "We should head toward Proxima Centauri," Benjamin said after a long pause. "It's the closest star system. If anyone finds our message, it'll likely be there." Maria nodded, adjusting the course. "Then let's go." As the eclipse sped toward the distant star, the survivors allowed themselves a moment to reflect. Earth was gone, but its story wasn't forgotten. Laura's bravery, humanity's mistakes, and their desperate plea for forgiveness would live on, in the void between the stars, waiting for someone to hear. The journey to Proxima Centauri was long and lonely. The eclipse drifted through the vast emptiness of space, its small crew grappling with their grief and the weight of their mission. Ryan spent most of his time staring out the window, watching the endless sea of stars pass by. He often thought about Laura, wondering if she had found peace in her final moments. Maria kept busy maintaining the shuttle systems, using work as a way to distract herself from the pain. Benjamin, meanwhile, focused on preserving humanity's message, checking and rechecking the recording device to ensure it would survive the trip. As days turned into weeks, the team began to notice subtle changes in their surroundings. The stars ahead seemed brighter, almost welcoming, as if guiding them towards something new. Then, one day, Maria spotted it, a faint glimmer in the distance. At first, they thought it might be a trick of light or a piece of debris floating in space. But as they drew closer, the glimmer resolved into a small moon orbiting a distant planet. "There's something there," Maria said, her voice tinged with excitement. She adjusted the shuttle's trajectory, bringing them closer to investigate. When they arrived, they discovered the moon was unlike anything they'd ever seen. Its surface shimmered with colors that shifted and danced like an aurora frozen in place. Strange structures jutted out from the ground, tall spires made of crystalline material that sparkled under the dim light of the nearby star. It was clear this wasn't a natural formation. Someone, or something, had built it. "Do you think anyone's here?" Ryan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Benjamin replied, studying the readings on his tablet. "But these structures are emitting signals, patterns similar to the ones we detected back on Earth." Maria guided the Eclipse to a safe landing near one of the spires. As they stepped onto the moon's surface, they felt an odd sensation, as though the air itself was alive. The ground beneath their feet pulsed faintly, and the colors around them seemed to respond to their presence. "This place, it feels like it's listening," Ryan murmured, looking around nervously. Benjamin approached one of the spires and placed his hand against its smooth surface. Instantly, images flooded his mind. Scenes of other civilizations, each one rising and falling like waves on an ocean. Some were advanced, with towering cities and technology beyond comprehension. Others were simple, living in harmony with nature. But all shared one thing in common: they had been judged by the same enforcers who had come for Earth. Their archives, Benjamin realized, his voice trembling with awe. "This is where the aliens store the histories of the worlds they've reset." Laura's words echoed in his mind. "We are sorry." Humanity's message hadn't been sent into the void after all. It had reached this place, a cosmic library meant to preserve the stories of those who came before. Ryan knelt down, running his fingers over the glowing patterns etched into the ground. "Do you think they'll find it? Will anyone care?" "We can only hope," Benjamin said softly. "But at least now we know. It wasn't all for nothing." As they stood there, surrounded by the remnants of countless civilizations, the survivors felt a strange sense of connection. Earth's story was just one chapter in a much larger tale, a story written across the stars. Though humanity was gone, its legacy endured, a testament to both its flaws and its dreams. With heavy hearts but renewed purpose, the team boarded the Eclipse once more. They didn't know what lay ahead, but they knew one thing for certain: humanity's voice would never truly be silenced. Somewhere among the stars, someone, or something, would hear it and remember. The Eclipse left the shimmering moon behind, its crew carrying a mix of emotions as they ventured further into the unknown. The discovery of the alien archives had given them a glimmer of hope, but it also deepened their sense of loss. Knowing that Earth's story was now part of a cosmic record didn't erase the pain of everything they had endured, or the guilt of being among the last survivors. As they traveled, Maria kept the shuttle on course for Proxima Centauri, though none of them truly expected to find anything there. The journey became a quiet routine, checking systems, reviewing data, and staring out at the endless expanse of stars. Ryan spent hours replaying Laura's final message in his mind, her voice echoing softly like a reminder of what they were fighting for. Benjamin tinkered with the recording device, ensuring humanity's plea would remain intact no matter where the eclipse ended up. One evening, as the others slept, Ryan sat alone in the cockpit, gazing at the distant glow of Proxima Centauri. He felt small, impossibly small, against the vastness of space. For weeks, he had struggled with anger and despair, questioning whether their efforts mattered. But now, as he watched the star grow brighter, he began to feel something else: resolve. If humanity's legacy was to survive, it was up to them to carry it forward. When the team woke the next morning, they noticed something unusual outside the shuttle. A faint trail of light stretched across the darkness, leading toward the star system ahead. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. The light seemed purposeful, almost like a pathway. "What is that?" Maria asked, leaning closer to the controls. "I don't know," Benjamin replied, studying the readings, "but it's guiding us somewhere." Curiosity outweighed caution, and Maria adjusted the shuttle's course to follow the trail. As they moved along the glowing path, the ship's sensors picked up signs of activity ahead, a planet orbiting one of Proxima Centauri's smaller stars. Unlike the barren worlds they had seen before, this one showed signs of life: lush vegetation, flowing water, and an atmosphere rich with oxygen. "It's beautiful," Ryan whispered, his voice filled with wonder. Maria guided the eclipse into orbit around the planet, scanning its surface for any signs of civilization. What they found took their breath away. Cities made of gleaming white stone rose from fertile plains, surrounded by fields of vibrant crops. Strange creatures roamed freely, their movements graceful and deliberate. And then, through the haze of clouds, they spotted beings, not human, but unmistakably intelligent. They stood tall, their forms elegant and radiant, watching the sky with curiosity. "They're alive," Benjamin said, his voice trembling. "This world, it thrives." The realization hit them all at once. This planet hadn't been judged and reset. It had been spared. The aliens' enforcers weren't just destroyers. They were caretakers, preserving balance by removing those who disrupted it while nurturing those who lived in harmony. "We need to land," Laura said firmly. "If anyone can understand our message, it's them." Maria nodded, guiding the eclipse toward a clearing near one of the cities. As they descended, the beings gathered below, their expressions calm yet curious. When the shuttle touched down, the team stepped out cautiously, holding the recording device between them, as if it were a sacred artifact. The beings approached silently, their eyes glowing softly as they studied the newcomers. Without words, they reached out, not physically, but mentally, and connected with the humans. Images and emotions flowed between them, painting a picture of understanding and compassion. "You hear us," Benjamin said aloud, tears streaming down his face. "You understand." The beings nodded, their presence warm and reassuring. Humanity's message had been heard, not just by them, but by the universe itself. Though Earth was gone, its story would live on, carried by those who came after. Years passed, though time itself seemed to flow differently on the thriving planet. The survivors, Maria, Ryan, and Benjamin, had been welcomed by the alien civilization with open arms. These beings, who called themselves the Luminaries, were peaceful and wise, their society built on harmony with nature and each other. They listened intently to humanity's message, absorbing every word, every emotion, every plea for forgiveness. Through shared thoughts and images, they understood not only Earth's failures but also its beauty, creativity, and resilience. The Luminaries explained that their role in the universe was to maintain balance, a task entrusted to them by forces beyond comprehension. When a species grew too destructive, they intervened to reset the cycle of life. But when a species showed promise, they nurtured it, guiding it toward growth and understanding. Though humanity had fallen short, its story resonated deeply with the Luminaries. They saw potential in the dreams and struggles of Earth's people, even if those dreams had come too late. With the Luminaries' help, The survivors began rebuilding fragments of human culture. They planted seeds of knowledge, sharing stories, art, and science with their new hosts. Together, they created archives, not just of Earth's history, but of its hopes for the future. The recording device containing Laura's final words became a cornerstone of this effort, a symbol of humanity's capacity for reflection and change. As decades turned into centuries, the memory of Earth faded from the physical world, but lived on in the collective consciousness of the luminaries. Their descendants, born from a blend of human ingenuity and alien wisdom, carried forward the lessons of the past. A new civilization arose, one that honored the mistakes of those who came before while striving to build a better future. On a distant moon orbiting a quiet star, the alien archives continued to preserve the stories of countless worlds. Among them was Earth's chapter, a tale of destruction and redemption, of failure and hope. Visitors who came to study the archives often lingered at Earth's entry, moved by its message. "We are sorry." Laura's voice echoed through the ages, reminding all who heard it that even in loss, there could be meaning. In time, explorers from the new civilization ventured into the stars, guided by the belief that no species should face judgment without first being given a chance to learn. They sought out struggling worlds, offering aid instead of punishment, inspired by the legacy of a planet that had once sealed its own destiny. And so, humanity's voice endured, not as a lament for what was lost, but as a beacon for what could be gained. Its final words served as both a warning and an invitation, a reminder that every action carried weight, and every choice shaped the course of existence. Though Earth itself was gone, its spirit remained alive, scattered among the stars like stardust waiting to ignite. In the quiet moments, when the universe seemed vast and indifferent, the luminaries would pause and reflect on the courage of 3 humans who had refused to let their world be forgotten. Their sacrifice had sparked something greater than they could have imagined, a legacy of hope that would ripple through eternity.